and like pet cats.
Yeah.
And kind of like obsessed with feeding all the strays. But it never occurred to me that I was a cat person.
Yeah, you just don't think of yourself that way now.
Yeah, and my nephew came over and he was like obsessing over a cat. He was like, I'm a cat person. He's 5 years old.
Oh my god!
Like he said it like, of
Of
course I am.
And
And I
I
was
was
like,
like,
dude,
Jesus,
me
gonna get
too.
I think I was thinking about things while opening a new wedding.
While you reach
Everybody's
for the
just having revelations about being cat people.
I know.
And I love that. That's so cute.
Cat the cat
I love
people.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you guys
Sure,
wanted to pull this out,
I
I
love
was
that.
older.
I didn't think I knew what kind of person I was at all. When I was
Yes,
seven.
baby.
It's like I didn't self-identify as a person until I was like at least 25. I think I have more gravitas with the cat and my lap.
You look scholarly.
And I get to like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
rotate the chair a little. It's like,
Vamos
yes,
Felipe, hold on.
I have answers.
You ever watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World? Anybody here?
Yeah.
Only 1,000 times.
You know, Gideon? Gideon with short hair. I
So
think.
Jason Schwartzman, right?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I always thought he was like.
Sort of see it.
I always was like, oh, he's like a tiny dude that I can like feel good about looking at because I'm small. So I was like,
Very handsome professor.
He's very handsome.
I'm good with handsome
Okay.
professors. This works.
do you wanna?
Yeah, we can.
I'm gonna-
Yeah, it's a
we
weird,
ourselves in.
it's weird like trying to do a semi-formal thing, but
Sorry,
Yeah,
I started
as
laughing at
many.
the crunch.
um,
That was cute. All right.
so anyway,
Okay.
Ray
Serious.
made this suit, measured the suit,
Measured, yeah.
measured.
I can't take credit for constructing it, but
I was gonna.
yeah.
There's more manual labor.
Sure. Yeah.
involved
There's a
in
lot
that.
of folks involved with making the suits,
Mhm.
and you're sort of the first one. You know what I mean? You come in with the vision, you come in
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
experiences and clothes, and then I'm the second one. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You like ask the right questions.
Try to, yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you join Bindle and Keep?
I've been working with Bindle and Keep since 2012. So we've been there a long time. That feels like a long time. Usually when I've had a job for like 2 years, I'm like, I want to get out.
Yeah.
7
Yeah.
years is a good way. And I'm not looking for an exit strategy, so that's nice.
Wow, the commitment to it.
Had you done clothing stuff before, or?
No, it was only I was on a totally different path. I went to library school, so I was trained to be a librarian. Where'd you go?
There's two of them in there.
I didn't know that you could go to library school. I've been
Look at
this
Talk about the rent.
I actually feel like there's a parallel between my like former career and my current one because I feel like both are fundamentally about access. So I feel like a lot of the time when I'm at work, I'm like, oh, I am kind of a reference librarian. I'm just doing it with clothes and in a different setting, and it's not free.
For sample books.
And I wish it was free, obviously, but
Different kind of reference.
yeah. So I didn't know that I would be working in clothing until I had my own custom suit made, which I had done in 2010. So that's what kind of got this all started for me. Just like having the experience of putting out something that fit for the first time, that fit my body, and to some extent fit my gender. And it made me sort of make eye contact with myself in a different way and sort of just it made me start appreciating that I had to treat myself differently and present myself more thoughtfully in the world. And I let that feeling kind of marinate for a while. And then in 2012, I reached out to a couple different tailors asking them to apprentice me because I felt like it should be accessible. And my first experience, like I said, my suit from that experience fit my gender to some extent. It should have fit my gender to a better extent, but I wasn't having the kind of conversation that you and I are able to have. And I felt like I was sort of translating myself to the tailor, and also didn't have a lot of the language that I now have to talk about myself and my experience. So like he couldn't do any of the lifting with me. So I was like translating and then doing all the work by myself too. So I was like, no one to bounce my ideas off of right now. So it didn't help me really get the suit that I wanted, despite the fact that he measured me really well. So like the sleeves were the right length the first
Yeah.
time. A lot of things that we all experience, like if you want one part of a shirt to fit, then the rest of the shirt doesn't fit, that kind of thing. There was a lot of that was really quieted through that experience, despite it kind of missing the mark in other ways. So I reached out to a couple of different tailors and asked for an apprenticeship so that I could make this kind of service more accessible and more affirming. Yeah.
Cool.
So here I am
Yeah.
in your house.
Hi.
Cal cuts my hair.
Yay, I do. That's fun.
Yeah,
It's a
and
club.
other people's.
But yeah.
When did you start cutting hair?
Oh man. So when I was younger, I was a musical theater major in high school. And I didn't go to school. I just never showed up.
In
I was
high
like,
school?
yeah, I just
Same.
didn't show up. Just didn't want to go. Didn't want to go.
Fair.
I had New York
They
City.
don't make it too compelling.
No, they don't. And I just had New York City at my fingertips, so I just wanted to.
Did you go to the
leave.
Bardia?
Oh my god.
Sorry.
I went to Talents Unlimited.
Oh, okay.
So I went to musical theater at high school. I never wanted to go. I was a scene kid, and at the time, still ID'd as like a, you know, girl, whatever that may be. But I was like a scene kid. I was super emo, always doing weird stuff to my hair. I would cut class and do haircuts in the girls' bathroom.
That's cool.
I know. I think I never realized that I could take hair seriously. I was so centered around like music for a really long time that I didn't think that that was an option. And then I thought about it more and more and more. And people kept trusting me with their hair for some reason, even though I had no qualifications at all. And I was used to like promoting myself and putting myself out there a lot with music. And you kind of have to do the same thing when you do hair. You're like, trust me, pay attention to me, that kind of thing. So I don't know, I just realized later on, about maybe 6 years ago now, that I could be a hairdresser and that was something that I could do. And then I did it. I don't know, we could talk more about it, but that's
Did you
like
go to
the-
barber school?
Oh, we could get into that actually. I actually think it's really interesting that you did like a tailoring apprenticeship. So, this might touch a little bit on like a lot of different things, but I didn't actually finish high school and I didn't get my GED. I took the test 5 times and never passed. I think I happened to be one of those kids that fell through the cracks a little bit when it came to education and public school in New York, and also being from like a low income family, and I think there was a lot of factors involved.
Oh wait, are we gonna have to like do the thing again, the circle, so everybody knows who everybody is?
Let's just, yeah, right?
Alright. David, you wanna start again?
Sorry.
I'm
Under
David. Generally use he, him, but inflexible.
Where do we
Yes.
want
And I'm a Libra and don't care.
I couldn't. Okay.
Are we doing a speed round?
Yeah.
Speed round. I'm Ray. I'm an Aries. I like when people use my name in lieu of pronouns, but I also don't mind any particular pronouns. So, flexible.
Cal, they, them, but also whatever. What's a gender? But mostly they, them. And then Sagittarius.
Yeah. Sunny, Sagittarius, just call me Sunny.
Andy, they, them, he, him, Libra.
Morgan, she, her, Leo.
Julia, they, them, and I'm a Taurus.
Yeah.
It's Taurus season, yeah.
Yeah.
Laura, they, them, Sagittarius.
Cute.
David, I feel like your makeup is kind of matching Brittany's,
Oh,
but you need like the
that's
eyeshadow.
Concerning
I mean, that isn't what I was going for, but
But like, it's what you
Why?
should.
Like, everybody,
You
give
know
me
what
the
you
names.
are.
No, let's not do that.
Oh, yes. You know, I listened to Brittany in preparation of coming here today.
Yeah, let's go back.
Hashtag resume. That made me sound old. I don't know why I said hashtag. Whatever.
Well, our many
It's fun.
listeners will know that you.
We're picking back up where we left off.
But anyway, so you had asked about barber school and like studying hair and all that kind of stuff. But then I was kind of, my answer to that basically was that didn't finish school, didn't get my GED. I tried multiple times. Like I said, I feel like just the education system failed me a little bit. But I kind of did things on the fly. I lived in the Bronx for a little while, and then I got like a shampoo job. Not the recommended way to start doing hair, because it's just not super legal, but that is what happens sometimes. You just start being a shampoo person. So I was like working for like $6 an hour and doing shampoos and stuff. But that led to an apprenticeship.
Nice.
Also.
Cool.
And I actually think it's really interesting how similar our jobs are in a way, where we're servicing people and also it's still a trade. I feel like trades are rare these days. There's something really special about trades, I think, that you can learn like that, because you don't need to have like a college degree. I mean, you can, but you don't need that for those things.
It feels very like the new economy.
Exactly.
Even though it's an old economy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's weird.
Right.
So I got an apprenticeship, and then that led to another apprenticeship. And then that led to me being in a weird predicament, because I was learning a lot about hair, but couldn't actually go to cosmetology school because you need a GED to go to cosmetology school.
Seriously?
Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah.
You do?
I think
That's so dumb.
it's extremely oppressive.
That is.
Yeah.
That is gatekeeping to the extreme.
Yeah, it makes me sad in a lot of ways. But also barbering school, you technically need a GED, but some schools it varies. So flash forward to me just doing haircuts like in my apartment and doing like whatever, and just like doing friends and not really like doing things super professionally. And then I decided I wanted to do a barbering apprenticeship. And in a barbering apprenticeship, that you can take it and get a license, and it's different than doing things in like the traditionally hairdresser way. So then I did the apprenticeship at Harare actually, and that was great. And then I learned a lot, but it was weird because I had already had like 5 years of experience in the hair industry, yet still couldn't really do hair technically. But I mean, I'm really thankful for the fact that you can still do real apprenticeships still, because I'm somebody who didn't finish high school, didn't go to college, but I'm smart and I know how to take things and learn, and I made a career out of something that I could have not had a career, but I'm babbling now.
Yeah, there's definitely something like professions that are like older than 200 years are like so much more people focused, and it seems like that's a really important thing to focus on when so much of the economy is just like
It's very transactional.
funny money that
Marketing.
just like like zooms
Money
around
related.
between all these
Corporations.
corporations.
It's also like really frustrating too that like saying college and things like that are considered higher education when I think like trade school and apprenticeship like
Yeah, it's
You
not
learn
that
you
more.
need
hard.
all of these pieces to have like a working economy, and it's really like the language around that needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny. For a long time, like there was a connotation around hairdressers being stupid. For like a really long time, yeah, especially like a long time ago.
And we all trust
But like the only people I know who handle sharp objects around heads as much as you do are neurosurgeons.
Yeah, that's weird. It's
I
really
mean,
weird to think about that.
The barbers and surgeon used to be like the same
same
profession.
thing.
That's a whole other
Like
thing.
that's a whole historical fucking thing right there.
Yeah.
Clothes and grooming are interesting things because
Yeah.
they're like everyone needs them, but they're also like there's such a potential for artistry, and like having a personal touch with those things is really important. And yeah, you two are great that you're trying to specifically provide those things for a more marginalized population.
Yeah.
Which yeah, talk about that.
I was gonna say, and I don't.
Go. Yeah, talk about
Go.
that. And go.
Whammy or whammy.
No question, just go.
I was gonna say, like, something I feel is true, and maybe you relate to, but maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Is I wouldn't really want to, like, do what I do if I wasn't working with the people that I work with.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not, like, so in love with suits. Like, no matter where I work, it has to be with suits. You know, like,
Yeah.
it's really about my clients and about my relationships with them.
Right.
And it's about sort of creating balance between the experiences people have in the world and the experiences they should have, right?
Right.
So, like, I'm helping people, you know, have the conversations they would have, you know, with salespeople or with their, you know, their own family members even. We practice doing those conversations together, and it's safe, and it's, I don't know. So I feel like that's the heart of the work. I mean, I love seeing the suits, of course, and I love sending people off into the world with clothes that actually make them feel good and make them feel self-possessed. And it's meaningful when I do it with people who aren't queer, you know what I mean? It's always meaningful because everyone has a body and everyone does have a gender, whether they realize that or not.
Right,
So
right,
it
and
can
like-
be healing work for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, gender dysmorphia is a very specific form of this, but like everyone has some
Right.
aspect
Some
of
type
it
of
of
thing.
like, oh, you know, I never thought I could
Yeah.
wear this because
Totally.
like my
We all
body
grew up
doesn't
in
work
society.
with it. Yeah, yeah. You know.
Society.
Life.
Yeah, and that's not like I know that our narratives all like include these experiences, but those experiences aren't unique to us. It's unique. It's like it's a human experience, and I think we all, like I always say this, but we all drink from the same poisoned well. So even someone who you know, a cis straight person still has to be a woman in this world, or whatever it is, you know what I mean, a person of color in this world. So there's always something that is making you question like your own self-worth, your own, you know, presentation. So it's definitely meaningful to do the work no matter who comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't about the sort of, if it wasn't about like feelings, it wouldn't be as important to me to do it. And I think it's like it's more about that.
Yeah, my association with suits is so much just, you know, like businessmen and like wealth signifiers.
Totally.
Which is something that always turned me off,
Same.
you know, and being able to approach it as, you know, like I want something to wear in these formal contexts, but also like thinking a lot more about my body and like how I want it to look, is
Because you still look like you, even though you're wearing a suit.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're not wearing like a costume.
Yeah.
Or I always call it like work drag or whatever. Like some people
It's
do something
work
where like I
drag.
have to wear a suit to work, and I'm like, I get a work drag. Let's just make it work
That's so
drag.
many
You know, I
people.
understand like none of this is fair, but it's real. Yeah. But it's important to like hold on to yourself, even if you have to wear a suit, or even when you do feel like wearing a suit. Like it shouldn't mask you.
Right, right, yeah.
It should like integrate you into the idea.
Oh yes, your question was, do you conceptualize your grooming as masculine? How does that jive with the popular concept of that being particular about your grooming as a feminine practice?
I'm sorry, jive?
Jive.
Jive,
I
yeah.
like jive. We're not bad at jive.
I'm not.
I dance, I dance.
I was just tickled pink by just the fact that I was just throwing it in there.
I love that. I don't know, I'm into jive.
Everything's great.
Grooming is weird. Yeah, so I feel like I've always played a weird dance when it comes to that kind of thing. I was extremely feminine most of my life. And I definitely always felt like there was something off about how I felt, about my connection with my body, my connection with my presentation. We'll get into that later, whatever.
Kind of mask-like, or
What was that?
like putting on a mask?
Yeah, in a way, for sure. But I've always feel like I've experimented and gone back and forth with certain things. I cut all my hair off when I was in high school because my boyfriend told me to. That was interesting.
That's a reason.
For some reason, I listened to that. I don't know, but yeah, like so. I don't know. There's little things like that. I don't know. I'm trying to get my train of thought. I actually wear a lot of makeup, on a regular basis, and I even remember one time. This is a very minimal moment for me right now.
I've seen you with a lot more.
Yeah, like David knows, like, and you know too. I wear a lot of makeup, and I've even had people tell me, you know, you're X, Y, and Z, and you present this kind of way. Like, why do you wear so much makeup? Which I think is the dumbest question in the freaking universe.
We all have an
Because
interesting side.
yeah, it's really silly to me. You know, like.
Also, just dudes should wear makeup.
Makeup isn't gendered at all. Makeup isn't gendered at all, and the way that I put on, like, I would definitely consider that the way I groom myself as masculine because I am masculine. But the way I see makeup for myself, obviously makeup can be interpreted in different ways for different people. But I always turn people to like the glam rock era. You know, like. I see myself very differently than I think other people read me as. Like, the way that I put on makeup, I'm like, I want to look like a rock star.
Yeah.
I don't think my smoky eye is like a cute femme moment. I think of it as like, you know, like
Oh, I read you.
New York
I read
City.
you as rock star.
Oh.
Whatever you're trying to project is working. So.
No, I mean, like, but that's
Should identify that as your gender.
yeah,
Rock star.
exactly.
I just rock star.
I mean, like, that's where I personally pull my inspiration
Pronouns are
from, as
rock
far
and
as like my grooming and my aesthetic or whatever it is. But I mean, you know, when it comes to like doing hair and like talking to people about their grooming and all that kind of stuff, I have a lot of the time, like, you know, your regular Joe Schmo, which my interaction with them is just as important as it is with my queer clients. You know, they have questions and they don't know how to take care of themselves or to take care of their hair, and it makes me happy that they could feel comfortable asking me those questions and asking me, hey, like, I have no idea how to do my hair, or I have no idea like what kind of cleanser I should be using for my face, or like what should I put on my beard to make it softer, or like little things like that. I feel happy that they feel comfortable to ask me those things, but it also makes me really sad that like those things are deprived for most of their life. Because for some reason, cis dudes are like not allowed to take care of their skin and face and hair and body. I don't know why, but
It's such a cruel thing.
it's so silly. It's so silly.
Like, cover up should be just everyone.
And face masks.
Face masks are for everyone.
Come on. Having
They're
your face
fun.
all day long sucks. You go home, a mask on.
Well, I don't know, but I don't know. Grooming is weird and complicated. I would say the full roundabout answer is yes, I view my personal grooming as masculine because that's how I identify, but obviously it's to each their own. Yada yada yada. I'd probably
And the
say-
world sees you through whatever lens they want to see you.
Exactly. Like, I can't change everyone's mind about how they look at me, but I can view myself the way that I do.
Right.
So, you know, there's that. Cool.
There's lots of tools.
Are we allowed to ask you the same questions back?
Yeah.
So will you answer the same question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Writing the script. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'm curious about this also.
Yeah, I feel like I
She gonna
just didn't do grooming
Mm-hmm.
very much when I like, you know, before I started exploring my gender more.
Yeah.
And you know, like I got haircuts when my mom was like, your hair's too long. Go get a haircut.
There
And
you
then I
go.
went to like the same barber I'd seen my entire life, being like, do what you always do. And
Just an old man. I'm just an old man with lots of reflex. Ignore me. Continue.
yeah, I didn't take much care of myself. You know, my sister was like, oh yeah, you know, you need to wash your face. And so like, you know, I just like had whatever bare minimum sort of came to me. 'Cause
Here's
there
a
were,
bar of soap, kind of thing.
yeah. And I've always just been super, like, routines, you know, I'd, like, learn one thing and just, I'm like, okay, this is what I'll do every day. And, and yeah, it was really starting to explore what ways I wanted to feel feminine in some contexts that really got me thinking more about, you know, like how do I need to treat my body to have like the kind of skin I want to have, and just like, you know, all this research which felt like something I had to kind of do in secret a lot of the time.
That's
Because
really
like
interesting.
grooming was so, you know, it's also like gay coded for men,
for
and like
sure.
the fact that I was dating women made me be like, oh, I can't, like,
There's
you know,
no
I don't want to do all these
connotations,
things that like will make me read as gay. But yeah, how much that was just not taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And I would like, I always liked doing offbeat things. I was a theater kid in high school, and
Yes. It all comes back to being a theater kid.
Wait, who wasn't a theater?
Yeah, raise your hand if you were not a theater kid in high school.
Sorry, it's majorly not a theater.
Was it?
Major.
I saw some other hands.
I was
like a shitty jock. I was not gonna.
Yeah, that was when I went to Lynn
I
High
was a
School.
jock too.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I was in band.
Yes.
I was band.
I was the jock
Band, theater, and
musical.
debate.
Yeah.
Like we had to dress formally on opening night for theater shows, and I wore the tux that I had for band with a pink cummerbund and bow tie from the resale shop.
That's really cute. That's very
Yeah, so like that, I'm glad I did some
Yeah.
exploring with more deliberate presentational stuff, but the idea of picking pants that make my butt look good was something that I like
That was
had
like-
never thought about
It's so
until
hard,
like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't there. That's cool.
And how, yeah, and there, I think it's really tragic that a lot of men have such internalized homophobia that they like
Yeah, it's
are
really,
unable
really,
to
like-
see their own bodies as a
Right.
What'd you say?
Wear cargo shorts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
True.
Just what you were just saying, that whole thought about the internalized homophobia.
Yeah, the
being-
idea that
Yeah.
like you can one can internalize homophobia so deeply that it becomes gay to take care of yourself
Yeah.
is troubling because
Yes.
everyone has a body that shouldn't be neglected really if it can be avoided. And yeah, I just think that like everyone is entitled to take a bath if they have the time to, and you know, like put lotion on their skin or wash their face with like a nice thing that smells good. You know, it's like
Like self-love is so gay.
yeah, it's like it's not even like it's not even self-love as far as I'm concerned. That's
Just,
just
like, basic.
It's like maintenance.
Basic
Same way you would like go
maintenance.
wash a car if you had a car.
Oh
Same
my
way you would
God.
like change the inner tube.
I mean, the nice smelling is self-love.
Yeah,
But-
that's
Yeah,
you have a lush
lotion.
bath bomb, that's self-love.
I just always die like the what is it, like Dove or something, when it's like for men, right?
And it's like you can wash your face
yeah.
with it, you can wash
You
your
can do
hair with
18
it.
different things with this one thing.
Yeah.
You're not gay. Haha. It's
Right,
like,
and
calm down.
it's like literally the same
Tears
product
of a
as
bear
being
that
sold
killed
for
yourself.
women, like unscented and cheaper,
Yeah.
which is also like
The fact that it's
That's a whole
better.
other thing that we could do. That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, we can even dive into it in a different way. For example, if we're gonna talk about internalized like stuff, which is probably a lot big topic, is where like for a really long time I stopped myself from getting my nails done
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, that's the where I'm drawing the line on it being
Like
too
it's too
feminine for me.
Yeah.
That's like I was just trying to put on a facade that wasn't real.
Right.
We can dive more into like, you know, basically the whole trans enough concept and the
Yes.
whole feeling like you need to be more butch or more masculine or more feminine and X, Y, and Z. But really it's all just like a big joke and none of it's real. You should just do whatever you want. Yeah. That kind of, I mean, I feel like that's a similar area in the vein where like how a lot of like, you know, cis men or certain people feel like they can't even take a bath without feeling like it's feminine or
Right.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel super weird wearing a dress today because I'm like, am I valid?
Yeah. It's,
Yes.
you
Yes.
still are. Yeah.
Yes.
But like you felt
But
like
I
wearing a
know-
dress today.
Because
Yeah.
I wanted to wear a dress this. I don't know. Felt like it.
That's what I'm saying. Where it's
Like,
like,
All
you're
shit.
supposed
All
to
the shit should
wear
be non-binary. It shouldn't just be like.
Yeah.
Because if you think that only non-binary things are only
a certain way
whatever, are only the masculine things,
Yeah, like
then
that's
still
also
feeding into
that's still
bullshit.
there you go.
I, you know something, it's like the biggest fight sometimes because it's
It really
like,
is. It's
and-
really rough.
especially when you're like plus size and you're queer and people are just like addressing you by miss all day, or just like no matter how you dress you're always seen as feminine because you're
Yep.
plus size, so
Right.
you can't hide
Absolutely.
The curves
your
and
your
stuff.
curves, you can't hide pieces of your body, and you're always feeling like this eternal feeling of like I don't look androgynous,
Yeah.
so I'm not queer
Yeah.
represented.
But androgynous shouldn't be like
Exclusive
masculine,
to like
right.
straight
Yeah.
bodies,
Shouldn't be the gatekeeper.
skinny bodies.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
It's stunning, like just hearing you say that, like because you can't hide your body, you can't be androgynous. It's like your
Yeah,
body is
that's what I'm
androgynous.
saying.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
And it's
The
just other
biggest
people
fight.
projecting
Yeah.
their ideas about like what a woman is. onto you.
Absolutely.
So they're like, oh hey miss, whatever. And it's
Mhm.
like it's really damaging.
Yeah.
And obviously you're androgynous. Like
Yeah.
that's your energy. I know it's
Hell
not
yeah,
obvious in
dude.
the world because people are
People are shitty, whatever,
Yeah.
but I don't know, it makes me angry. And also, I mean, that's a whole other thing diving into the fact that, like, a lot of people that think that, like, you know, non-binary or trans masculine energy and all that kind of, or androgyny in general is just, like, cis, I mean, not cis, is, white, skinny,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah. There's all
what,
kinds
you know,
of
like that kind of whole
baggage.
vibe. Sorry for jumbling my words, I apologize.
It's true.
There's a lot
But,
of words.
Or
There's a lot of words. You know exactly what I'm saying. It's like, you know, if you don't fit this archetype of
Yeah.
a certain shape or look,
this angle
yeah.
representation.
Yeah.
If you're not literally David Bowie, then get the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's obviously not true, but I mean, it's good that we're having this conversation and we're talking about it.
Yeah, you can't really be reminded enough times.
Yeah.
That that's like not the beauty standard.
Mhm.
Actually, it may be out there for other folks, but it's not. It does not apply.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't
It's-
apply to reality if you're actually paying attention.
It really is. Or what gets me is that some binary trans people don't consider you trans because
Oh,
you're
yeah,
not
that's
within the
horrible.
binary, and it's
Yeah.
just like I'm still out there, you know.
Yeah.
Just things aren't where whatever it is supposed to be for me. So it's just
Sure.
how it is.
On the flip, for me, like I don't consider myself trans, and my parents are like, "No, you're on the trans spectrum." I'm like,
Your parents
I'm-
say that to you?
no, my trans friends.
Oh, they just said your parents said.
I'm just like, my parents don't know shit about shit because they would have a heart attack
Yeah, I'm
and
sorry.
die. But no, like I'm
So
like,
your your trans friends are the ones who tell
Yeah,
you
they were
that
like, you're on the trans spectrum. I'm like, no, I'm just opting out. And like, no,
I'm just
you're
opting out. I love that.
Exactly.
Like,
That's
I opt
amazing.
out, please. I clicked the button on the bottom of the email that said, please opt out. I don't want
Yeah,
this
Yeah,
this is why I don't want to.
And they're like, no, but you're on the,
Take my name off
you're
of
on
this.
my spectrum. I'm like, no, I really am not. Like, no, I
That's for
Yeah.
that's for
kinds
you
of
to decide.
non-binary.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, outside.
Right,
Outside.
and I think it's really funny to think about how the sort of non-binary experience is so different for people who grew up female versus people
Yes.
who grew up male, because maleness has this like weird cultural neutrality to it,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
where
It's like whiteness.
like there are so many.
Maleness and whiteness.
There are so many cis men who don't care about their gender at all, but also haven't had to explore it because they've never been made to feel like, oh, like, you know, you need to be more like a man.
Yeah.
Because there's so much space to just exist as a male presenting person, whereas you know, female experience has so much shit just loaded onto it that, you know, it's like so many, it feels like AFAB non-binary people are like forced to deal with it more because you know, there is that much more times you have to say, no, I don't want to do that. Right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I also think it's extremely interesting the range of like expression of gender and like different areas of the spectrum that are even in this room alone is really interesting and impressive enough. And nobody is more or less than anybody else, obviously. And that's something that we can all acknowledge, obviously. Because like, you know, like my experience as being trans or non-binary is different than somebody else's experience. But no one is less than at all, you know.
Right. There's so much, when people talk about trans issues, there's often such a narrative around like, oh, all these gender expectations are so damaging, like people should be more gender neutral, and like, you know, like
More music.
Another bag.
wanting to, like, oh yeah, we should raise our kids to like not have anything overtly feminine or overtly masculine, when I feel like no, they should just have both.
Yeah.
You know, and
Right.
like I
Give them
Access.
yeah, and you know, it's like gender is such this huge bin of things that you can play with. Yeah. And
Yeah, I feel like gender could always just, it could be a thing that expands over time, like as you get older.
Yeah.
It expands to
And you used to
include
say
more
that-
things.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
Jacob Tobia, their name?
Tobia or Tobia, I never
I
know,
don't
because I
know.
don't ever say that.
Harley.
I thought it's wow.
Yeah, interviews they've done just about how, I mean, the term gender chill, I love doing.
Just look at your questions if you
Yeah,
want.
sure. Clothes. Have you used clothing to deflect unwanted attention versus using them to attract the wanted attention?
I think that question is amazing, by the way.
That's a good question.
Sort of working through it. So
Yeah.
if you want to start, you're welcome to. Or I can just like think through it out loud if you want. But
You can. I'm also thinking about it.
Well, we're all different.
We're like you, David.
yeah. if
Yeah, you start and then we'll think. And then,
Yeah.
Feel
I
like
mean,
that too.
definitely attracting wanted attention is. I definitely chose to do things when I was younger that were outside of the norm very deliberately to get people's attention. But it was, you know, similarly, it wasn't body focused. It was very much just like doing something little that was just out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
You know, and like even my love of bow ties is just like fewer people wear bow ties, so I want to wear bow ties.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that. That's cool.
but I also realized that I never, it's part of my privilege that I just haven't felt the kind of body scrutiny that a lot of people are under for a lot of their lives.
Yeah.
And so there hasn't been as much that I've kind of like felt the need to mask.
I like that. That's interesting. I don't know. As far as deflecting goes, I don't know. That's so interesting. I'm still trying to think about how I want to feel about that. Something that I've noticed, which has been very interesting and weird to navigate, is, again, circling back to when I was younger and like at the time, a teenage girl in New York City. Obviously, you deal with people looking at you, people making comments, people saying what they, feeling like they obviously own your body just because you walk down the street.
And there's no winning
and
because
there's-
if you're too pretty, you get
Yeah.
too much attention, and if you're not pretty enough, you
Yeah,
get,
I mean, it's like a whole
pressed for
thing.
that too.
And, obviously, like, I dealt with my fair share of that growing up as, like, an AFAB person, obviously. But, I mean, it's very interesting and, like, the moment that I started exploring my gender and exploring how I was gonna dress and act and my general, like, presentation to the world, like, I almost never get catcalled now. And when I do, it's extremely like aggressive and like very focused on my queerness from what I've noticed during the past few years in my experience so far. I don't know, it's interesting. I feel like I dress the way I want to because it feels good for me, but also like I do want to attract a certain type of energy towards me. Like, I want certain people to look at me and be like, oh, cool, all right, like, I see you. Like, if I saw anybody,
Like on the subway.
like, on the subway, like, it's cool to have the queer nod, like, that, I like that, like, that's always fun, like, and there's just, like, this energy there. Like, hey, like, all right, and, like, even sometimes, like, I'm a very outgoing person, even when if I'm on the subway, like, if I saw you on the subway, I'd be like, dude, I really like your shoes, and then I'd leave.
And I've
Yeah.
done
Like your
that
hair,
on the
like your
subway.
necklace, like your tattoos.
Like, I mean, obviously you can, I think that goes for any type of, I don't know, if you dress a certain way, you present yourself a certain way, because you want to attract a certain energy, I feel like that goes for anybody regardless of any gender situation. But as far as deflecting, I just feel like that's interesting. Like, I think I'm more outwardly obvious as queer, so sometimes that can put me in danger too. But I'm not gonna like stop looking the way that I want to look because of because I'm but also that's like a sense of privilege as well because I'm white passing, like like I'm Colombian and Ecuadorian. There's not an ounce of Caucasian in me, but I'm white passing, so like I can take that and like I can strut around New York City looking really, really queer, and that brings a certain privilege to me because like I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna look how I want to look, and like if danger comes my way, like so be it. But I have that mentality because there's a sense of privilege. There's a privilege that comes with that as well. So it's like complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, and navigating that,
Yeah.
like, guilt that you feel when you, like, first start understanding
Yeah.
what that privilege is.
Yeah, and even the privilege of being like masculine in any way, shape, or form, even though like it's not really. I don't know. That's complicated too.
All of it is complicated.
I mean, it's really extremely complicated. Obviously, like if I walk down the street with my femme like wife,
There is
What the other rest?
she's gonna get certain looks that I'm not gonna get. You know?
I came
Mine
in the
was shaped
store
like a
to
cat.
ask you for a particular type of
I buy
jean
it. Yeah.
with the waist a particular size and the length exactly to the T how I want it. Oh, it's for your boyfriend. Sure, why not? More willing to help me if I say yes is for somebody else, but if I say it's for me, oh, well, you know, the women.
Don't you want something that looks more like this?
No, that's not what I get. I get, well, you know, you might want to try the women. If I wanted to go over there, I would not have come in the store,
Yeah.
walk past the women's section, not even look at the lady who's standing over there who's like, oh, I can help. I don't want anything.
Yeah, I still feel like I don't even.
Actually,
Yeah,
It's
it's
complicated.
I don't really
I
want.
mean, you're still working on it, right?
Yeah,
exactly. It's like a work in
same.
progress.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing
I
some.
feel like
I found my
agree.
union.
But I don't really want any attention.
There's also that.
So I think
There's
part
also
of
not
that-
being the marshmallow.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I was talking
Yeah.
about with like masculine neutrality,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah. I often feel like
Look at me.
like the way I dress
Wait.
is like pretty forgettable.
What?
That's what I'm trying to just wear like.
That's what you're going for?
neutrals. Yeah, I'm always like, yeah, I wore pants and a shirt today.
Okay,
Yeah.
neutrals can be like very memorable.
Mhm.
Like if
It's
you
like
wear
a
them
French,
the right
you know.
way, yeah. Like
Especially
your
if you're wearing-
glasses right now, I just want to say,
Yeah.
My tiny glasses.
I love them.
Thank you. They're great. I feel like they make me look like it's the turn of the 20th century.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad I didn't wear my glasses that look like that, except slightly bigger, because that would have been very funny.
Like a whole vibe. It's not just like forgettable.
Understood.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't want to be forgetful. Like I
face,
said,
though.
that's. I guess that's fair to.
There's a sense of blending in those sometimes, I feel like.
So I wonder,
mhm.
the way this question was phrased is now making me wonder if I am trying to deflect attention.
No, wait.
Welcome to group therapy.
Yeah.
How much was wanting to opt out of traditional femininity versus
Ooh, that's a
wanting
good-
to
that's
like
like-
take on
I get it.
more identifiably masculine
Bing bing.
things?
I feel like that's a different question.
It is a different question.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is, I don't even feel like I really opted out of traditional femininity. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
No.
The vinyl.
Go on.
So,
The what?
I mean, are we talking
It's
about?
mine.
Because
Oh.
like,
Are we
What
so
about
what are
us?
we sticking with clothes mostly?
Yeah.
Is this-
Like he's-
I mean, you can go beyond clothes if it's easier to answer.
yeah. So I don't feel like, obviously, I'm not wearing like a particularly feminine outfit, but like, I feel.
Spiky.
Like the ways I opted out of like femininity are really exclusive to just my clothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've opted into femininity in like every other possible way, and that was only possible because I found a way to wear clothes that felt authentic to me, and often that that what I look like is characterized as masculine, and I suppose it is. But that was kind of the gateway to like actually using my body and what might be like considered feminine, like speaking in a way that might be considered feminine, like all these things like kind of opened up. I feel like I was like locked inside myself, and then I started wearing just like what I feel like is fairly neutral clothing, sometimes masculine, and that's when I was able to express femininity more, which is like I totally go to the
Yeah.
nail salon and get my nails done.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I
I
like I'm a
really
complete diva.
feel that.
but-
No, I can't even listen. I
Yeah.
completely. I love the way you put that because I completely agree in a lot of ways. Where like, the moment I stepped into like owning the thing that I feel most masculine about in certain ways, like, opened up the floodgates for other feminine. Like,
Yeah.
I've always been I'm probably one of the most flamboyant people I've ever met, personally. I'm extremely feminine, and I'm extremely, like, and I own that, and I love that. Like, I really love my femininity, but I feel like it took me a long time to realize that. To own it in a way that I felt comfortable, while still feeling like valid within myself in a lot of other ways where like, well, I think only in this last like year maybe, and I've been out
Legit.
as like non-binary, trans, whatever you want to call it at this point for like 6, 7 years. It's
That's the same as your hair career.
which
as
is
well?
also
Cool.
really interesting.
I know.
Weird, right? Interesting. Been out for a long time, but I think only until more recent time I've been like, I am owning the feminineness. I don't know. I can't speak right now. I'm owning it now because I'm comfortable about X, Y, and Z that is masculine, and I feel like I feel like more comfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I love the way you put that. So.
Like
It's been really interesting for me to kind of observe in myself, feeling better about my masculine traits,
Yeah.
because I feel like the exploring that I've been doing has been so rewarding, and because it's also like so much of my gender exploration has been kind of sexually driven, and so it was something that was very important to be able to share with partners.
Yes.
Um,
I'm gonna go back to that at some point. Yeah.
And like, had I been born, I think even like a decade earlier, it wouldn't have been hard to just like keep living with a cishet identity.
Right.
Oh,
And I
man.
wouldn't have
I want
had
to talk about that too. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and so like as much as I am queer and part of the larger trans population, I haven't had a lot of the specific harms that people who feel like super dysphoric about their assigned gender do, which is another part of my privilege.
Yeah.
But like working to understand that has been really rewarding for me personally, but also in my ability to tell everyone else about their experiences.
Well, you touched on one of your other questions about
They're all related.
they're all super related, obviously. Your first question originally was, when did you start
About
moving
pronouns, yeah.
away from assigned
Oh
pronouns?
yeah, and who would?
Who did you first ask for different pronouns from? And I think that you said a thing that's going to be connected to my thing. So anyway, that was your question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the sexual thing.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to. I don't know. Do you want to answer that question first?
the first one.
Yeah, the pronoun one. Yeah.
My name was the first thing that felt like it was misgendering me before pronouns ever felt like, before I felt any friction between pronouns and myself. So changing my name was the first step. But I don't know, I feel like the landscape has shifted a lot since I feel like I came out around my gender, and people now like very readily ask what people's pronouns are. And before that started happening, people would just kind of like choose a pronoun at random,
Yeah.
and I would just be like, "What's gonna shake out?" Like, let's see when these people get a chance to use a pronoun for me. Which
What's gonna
is-
happen?
I don't understand how that happens, but
Yeah.
eventually someone pronouns you in front of you for no reason, and
What are they gonna pick for me now?
yeah, and
Woo!
I would just be like, okay, and
I
I
see
like,
that.
on one hand, it's interesting to see other folks experience me, perhaps, and experience my fluidity. On the other hand, they're also just like, they're doing a weird gender equation. They're like, hair, those,
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like,
Let's
damn,
do
if you're doing a
that.
basic equation on this, then I don't want in. But if you're doing like, if you're just, I don't know, some people are trying to honor what they think you want to be called.
Yep.
Like, there's
Yeah,
a lot.
I had someone apologize for misgendering me before they asked what my
Yes.
pronouns were, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Right, like, you don't have any information.
So overthinking and
But
overthinking.
it's always
like, I'll
I
do
can
that.
too.
Yeah.
So even like
Awesome.
the guy
All
the other
the
day,
all
they
the-
used something totally benign. I think they used she, her, and they were like, sorry, what are your pronouns? He, them, he, she, them, and like they kind of like,
Whoa.
I was like, whoa, come back, you're okay.
Yeah.
First of all, when you're asking someone their pronouns, you don't need to list off all the possible pronouns. It sounds like you're guessing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like just, and like also
Take it to a
they weren't
dictionary.
they weren't harming me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I knew they were well intentioned. They're also queer. They're just like really young and they were nervous. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's so nervous.
Yeah. So
Everyone's
Everyone's
real
like the younger
nervous.
people are way chiller about it than the older people.
yeah. I think this person rather was nervous just because of they were in my workplace, right? So they were like getting like a custom suit. It was a whole thing. The brain was probably like being rattled a little bit by that
Yeah.
experience.
The weirdest
Not
thing
by
for
the
me
gender
was like I came out, I think for the first time at work,
Really.
because my boss was like, I have a non-binary kid, and I was like, oh, hi. So hey,
Let's talk.
You're like,
You're like,
oh,
perhaps?
yeah, and then
I
that
can
was
help
like,
you.
oh shit, but really though? And so he wrote my whole like performance review using my preferred pronouns. So I was like,
That's really sweet.
so
I
sweet,
love that.
fuck. And that was amazing. But I think it's because he had a non-binary kid and
I like
was like asking me for
things.
non-binary kid advice, and it was great.
That's really
Oh.
cute and pure.
It was so pure. He was shitty in every other way. But like, I
Damn.
find that like the younger people that I like hang out with and date, they're like, yeah, date, whatevs, no probs. And then like the older people, like 10, 20 years older than me, have a real issue with like
Yeah.
figuring it out. Like even like I've been more out than I have been in a really like ever in my new role where I am now in my tech space because I'm like
Yeah.
Get like
I wear my like they them pin a lot because I tend to fluctuate. I'm like I'm fluid, dude. You know, sometimes I wear skirts and sometimes I'm super mask and sometimes I'm kind of femme and sometimes you can't tell.
Sometimes don't look at me.
Right? Sometimes
Mind
please
your
don't fucking look at me because I
goddamn
also got the dysmorphia. But like, I've got table mates who are like in their 40s and they're like, oh yeah, she showed me. I'm sorry. They showed me
Oh, the
this
drama.
code. And I'm like, oh my god, you don't have to go over the board. It's fine. It's fine. You don't care if you fuck up. I know it's hard. Move on with your life.
That's
Please
funny.
don't make a
Right.
thing out of it.
I'm
Please don't
actually
make a
kind of
fanfare.
bad with pronouns in general. Like
I misgendered my own goddamn self. Like if you misgendered me, just be like they, whatevs. Like just
I
move
literally
on.
like
Move on.
have fully misgendered myself. That's a whole thing.
Yeah. And then I'm like, am I a fraud?
Especially towards the beginning.
Yes.
Oh my god. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Whatever.
I said something about something a really long time ago, and I was like, ugh, wait, that was wrong. I didn't feel that way. Why did I just say that even?
Yeah, same.
It was something about something about womanly. It was something about me being a woman. I don't know. It was like ages ago,
Yeah.
and I was like, wait a minute, rewind. I had to take that back for myself. Like, what?
It's not original coding, honey.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
hard to
It's
shake off.
hardcore
Exactly.
coded and like linguistically coded and like
Yeah.
how we grew up.
Yeah.
But like, and I'm a linguist, so I can say this. Like,
Exactly.
it's deeply
You are.
in that shit.
Hell yeah.
Well, developing
well, like,
journal.
It just raw. But like, it's just like, please chill out. Please don't like make a fanfare out of this. Just like move on. Move on from this moment. Don't be like, everyone stop!
Right.
I misgendered Laura.
The whole work.
I'm calling myself out.
Thank you for making
It's
it
about me.
fucking weird.
Stop the whole.
I love you, but thanks for making it weird.
Yeah, so much. That's the thing with so many like well-intentioned allies.
For sure.
That-
It was like
That
it
it's
was
like it's
40 and
so
over.
about them and
Yes.
like needing
Oh,
to prove that like they know what's up and it's
Yeah.
like like gender is really deep in our psychology and
It's-
we're all like working through it.
It's literally like the nice guy condition, but it's an ally. It's just like, let me put in all my brownie points so all the gays like me. And I'm just gonna go. Even though I didn't
My
learn
best
I
friends
didn't
are now
actually
running.
learn, I didn't actually try.
I just need to air something out really fast.
But
We're like edging around something that like really bothers me, which is anytime I go to like a dinner party, like for instance, I was just at Passover, and a lot of people at the dinner. Obviously, I know some of them. I don't know. I met some new folks.
Yeah.
Well-intentioned ally. says to me, and this has happened so many times, this is just the most recent example,
Yeah.
says, apropos of nothing, just because they looked at me, I suppose, and got like, they were like, oh, gender is happening.
Gender is happening.
Yeah, they were trying to figure you out.
Gender person.
Alchemy.
They were trying to figure you
They're
out.
like, yeah, I don't know why people, and he was trying to be an ally, but literally we weren't talking to each other. I mean, we had been introduced, so there was some ground for communication. We're sitting at the same table. But he goes, I don't understand why people care about whether someone's trans or not. And it's like, you're the only business. And he's kind of monologuing, and I'm like, do I have to be the only one who looks at him in response to this? Because everyone else is fucked. And I'm like, he's definitely talking to me. Yeah, they're all here too. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, and I was in the military, and there were a lot of trans in the military. And he says trans like that. I'm just like,
Military folks are really hard.
We also just
I mean, I know
how
my brother's
degrading is
Huh?
that they're just bringing up conversation that just so happens to be, quote unquote related to you, but never identifying you and addressing you.
yeah, we had not
Hard.
discussed.
It's just like, but you're
We just
supposed to
jumped
know and respond to.
Hello, nice
Oh
to
my
meet you. Here's some
gaydar.
emotional
I am encyclopedia of gay and everything.
So I was just like
I
trying to
must be
like
an
slip
encyclopedia.
out of my chair like, on the table. And then he kept saying like trans. I'm like, did you say
trans.
trans one more time?
Ah, yes.
Well, I heard what's the same
Trans.
You know? And then he
Well,
pulled
you know the thing about a trans.
Uno trans.
He pulled me aside later to be like, see her, she's a trans that I enlisted
trans.
with.
Oh,
and you would
yes.
never know. So
Oh,
then he's like opening up this whole
Yeah.
thing.
So really
Wow.
great.
Anyone gonna help me deal with this man? Like,
Welcome
yeah,
to
you
I would have walked over and been like, excuse me, is your brake working? The elevator doesn't go all the way up to the top, or you have no lights on.
I'm so,
Like-
you know, that kills me that you would never know.
yeah.
That makes me want to die.
And I was like, so you're telling me you know I'm okay. It's like,
Alright.
you were
Thank
plotting
you
this
for the
person
weird
for
erasure
passing,
with
and
the
then
non-erasure?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
The
yeah.
whole thing was just like such a fucking mess. It's just
Oh, yeah, the
probably
whole-
not that
I
I'm
love it.
saying this on the recording, but like, man, I really need to talk to somebody about this.
Oh, that's so
I love being
important.
worse.
It's fucked up on
Yeah.
some
There's
levels.
a new bottom every time. I was like, no, every time you talk,
It's
The
cringeworthy.
worse and
I
worse.
know it's
There's
just
a lot to
Every time you
unpack
open your
there, but
mouth.
we should throw away the whole suitcase.
Yeah, I think.
It's like
Throw
you're having
it
a
on fire.
fit.
Throw the
beach.
whole thing away.
Pronouns. Yeah, it's a lot.
Pronouns are
That's a
loud.
lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pronouns are weird.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the thing though.
Bring us
Touch
back to
the
the
thing.
thing.
Let's bring it back. Let's,
Touch the
let's
thing.
circle back. Ah, yeah. We got all the way to Passover and back. Basically, what you were saying that was really interesting is that the way that you started thinking more about your gender is just like through your sexuality, which I think is really interesting. I just remember very distinctly, like to vaguely answer the question. I just remember very distinctly when I had my first girlfriend and thinking, yeah, dude.
Is this like teenager?
Yeah, like 19 roughly, just like living life. First girlfriend, and I just remember thinking like, whoa, I don't feel like a woman having sex with another woman, and I had to think about that a lot.
Yeah.
And like also, it's just really interesting to like think about all the different ways that we all figure out our shit. Basically, I could have put that more elegantly, but it's fine.
That was pretty elegant.
Stand by.
No, yeah, like we all figure out our shit in different ways, and again, circling back, if you had been born in a different generation, you could have been easily content with being like, just a cis dude, just dating cis ladies. You never know. Like you just would have been like, you know, like it would have gone over your head. And I actually really like, I don't know. I sit really well with that, I guess. When I came out sexuality-wise, it was never about me not liking like dudes or cis guys. It was never about me not liking them anymore. It was about me realizing that I wanted to date women and predominantly date women and like be with them more so. And it was never about me not liking guys anymore. It was just
Yeah.
about me being like, hey, you're cool, but like, no thank you. Like, you're cool and like, if you're cool and like, you know, something can happen, but like, I don't really want to date you anymore.
Mhm.
I don't know, I feel like in another world, there's like this other version of me, who doesn't know
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And could have just blissfully skipped down the lane as like a woman with like some dude. But I don't know, it's just interesting because like I specifically remember thinking like, oh, okay, so like for like, you know, a quick period of time I was dating as like a lesbian and thinking, okay, maybe this is the new step. Okay, cool. Wait, actually no, I circle back. I lied. And that's another whole thing where like, you know, I feel really both comfortable and uncomfortable in lesbian spaces a lot.
Yeah.
I feel welcome and unwelcome in a lot of ways.
Right.
And that's also a really complicated thing to
Tell us more about that laugh. You're like,
I just spit everywhere. I'm sorry, I just spit everywhere. That was so funny. Yeah, no, I just think it's really interesting where like if, in another world I could have been another person, but like because I had access to information,
Yeah.
I don't know, access to information counts.
Access to information and access to people.
There's a lot fucked up about cishet dude spaces and how they talk about women, but I also realize that I'm really grateful that I just had spaces as a teenager where
Yeah.
sexuality was talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of people who are raised female don't get that.
Yeah.
You know.
Or they're
in
super
any-
toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's toxicity all over.
I love her. So in the beginning of that process, I was like, what's going on? I tried different names. I tried him for a while. There were so many places. There were so many different expressions along the way. And like only, like, I mean, honestly, like, I think I might have even joked about it with you at some point, probably, because I'm always like delusional and I'm behind the chair anyway. I was like, I haven't had water in 6 hours. I was like, I'm tired. Hi. What do you want to do with your hair today? But I don't know. It's like I've been in a conversation where it's like, I don't know. You know, I've been out for a certain amount of time, and I feel like I'm forever still figuring it out. Do I want to go on T?
Right.
I don't know if I want to go on T. When am I gonna get top surgery? I don't have money. Yada yada yada. La 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 la. Some days I like this. Some days I like that. And I feel like it's always a learning curve, and that's something that we're all gonna face those battles too.
Right.
I also feel like it's this really annoying pressure to put yourself in a bin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which is another thing with so many allies, right? Is that
Like, label yourself.
Dramatically Facebook declare.
yeah,
Let me
yeah, or
include
that
it,
like
for fuck's sake.
you go through a journey and then like arrive at your stable identity.
Yeah.
What if I don't want one?
Yeah, like I changed my gender on Bumble recently, and it said you can only do this once.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, how many options are there in the first place?
2.
Well,
Some of
Bumble,
them are more than.
I don't know Bumble.
Some of them are more than 2.
I identify as fluid on Bumble now.
Okay, so
I
it's
forget.
just, the option's just fluid?
I mean, gender fluid.
Yeah, that's nice.
There was, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I thought we were
There
talking
were-
just like,
If it were like
Yeah.
binary, like you must pick.
well, you still have to pick, like, do you want to be shown with men or with
Right.
women?
Okay,
right?
that's
because that's how
dumb.
they group.
Stupid.
No.
I get what
They're
they're
gonna
trying
fix
to
that,
do,
though,
but I
anyway.
hate it.
It's like
why
a
we need
filter. It's like
Come on.
That's
it's
ridiculous.
the only show. you
But yeah,
saw.
can we just, like, if anybody's ever been on FetLife before?
Yes.
Yes.
Alright.
A round of yes from everybody.
I haven't heard that.
We're all adults.
We're adults here.
Also,
Also, I haven't heard that website. So.
I know, right?
Wow, that brings me back. Great.
Right?
I'm still very much on there. Everything's great.
There's
cool shit to go to on there.
Yeah, it's actually pretty great because they actually update a lot
It's
of stuff.
adorable, right? It's like MySpace.
It's
It is. It's the
stuff for other
MySpace for
people
the
who are
dark
into the
for
stuff
us.
you're into. it's just the fact that they have so many options when it comes to identifying yourself.
Cool.
And like the things you're looking for and so many different roles. I feel like all that stuff really is important when it comes to like, you know, saying who you are. So the fact that they have, you know, non-binary, poly, family, or things like that, that's like just really
Those are
just really
relevant.
cool. Exactly.
Yeah, being able
there's
to-
not many platforms like that.
Being able to identify sexual roles, I feel like is something that the straights are really missing on their dating platform.
They might have a hard time with that.
They do have.
Well, I
People get
mean,
hits and
I love how straight people are like so fascinated with all the like cis dude, gay, like term like otter, twin.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Wait, what's otter?
It's like
I think I'm
a
an otter.
yeah. Like oh wait,
Right.
what's the
I want to circle back about that kind of stuff too, where it's like a lot of the time, I don't know, I identify so much more with certain things that are like stereotypically like gay man terminology.
Yeah.
That feels so much more like right to me in a lot of different ways too.
yeah, there's a lot of interesting things there.
Yeah, and I don't know, like the first time I ever got like an underage drink was at like this like leather daddy bar basically, and everyone was buying me drinks, and I felt good about it. It was really cute, and I was like, yes, I am a cute boy. Thank you, thank you very much. I was like, oh, okay, cool, and like I remember that being like this weird pivotal moment, and being like, oh shit, okay, that's an interesting thing for me to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's a whole other thing. Like that always felt more comfortable with me than saying like, you know, 'cause I feel like off the bat because you know like I'm AFAB and people read certain things certain ways where like it's always a stereotypical like, oh, are you butch, are you this, are you that, are you X, Y, and Z, are you soft this, soft that? I don't know, and like I feel like that's always like the straight, quick kind of assumption like to bond over even like from other like peers is like, oh, you know,
Like
you're
queer?
this. Yeah, queer peers, and like they're like, oh,
Queer
you're this, you're that. And I'm like, no. And that can get really complicated too, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I enjoy like goodwill, like when people do want to like hang. But then it always enters into like a what is that?
I like really Goodwill as a store.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
But I mean, like when
It's
someone
like the Goodwill.
assumes that you have something in common, and
Yeah.
like they want to hang near you, and they're like, yeah, and you're like, okay, well I appreciate the goodwill.
Yeah.
But like, if you think we're the same gender, that's weird because we don't know anything about each other.
yeah,
we
you
don't
don't
like
know
looked
me.
at each other.
Yeah.
You mean your first queer friends? The really ones that you have nothing in common with other than just being queer?
So
I mean, yeah.
Oh
Also,
god.
I mean, I've had so many instances where people want to talk about like sports to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking the
That's
same
exactly.
thing. I get a lot of
Yeah,
those.
I'm sure we
I get a lot of
I'm
butch
sure we
talk,
get a
and
lot
I'm
of
like,
those. You're like, I'm like, I was like, do you want to know a cool story? When I was 5 years old, my mom tried to make me play basketball, and I cried in the middle of the court. So we can't talk about sports, dude. I don't like them. I can't do that. You want to talk about something completely different? Okay, cool.
Musical theater and makeup.
Yeah, you want
Right.
to talk about Sephora?
I want to talk about
Okay.
the bats some more with you.
Yeah.
When you talk about bats, I was
I'm
like,
just saying. The funny thing is that like
The two we were
Animal
talking about
Jazz.
squirrels,
Like-
that was great. Yeah.
like younger was more like a very mixed batch. So it's like a hyper femininity and then hyper masculinity for me.
yeah.
So it's like 1 second I'm just like a fairy princess, the next second I'm in my gi and I'm kicking ass, alright?
Yeah.
And just playing sports and just like, oh, but you're
Right.
a girl.
I hated that when I was little.
You're playing football? Oh my god, you
First
just
thing-
tackled that 6'7"
First thing
guy.
to start a fight. Oh,
Just
you're
like,
a girl.
Yeah, I did,
Now
didn't
take
I?
that.
I was like,
I have a
come
quick
on,
question.
sports are great.
Speaking of this kind of fun stereotyping that happens, I was gonna ask you, how do you like navigate that kind of interaction usually?
So happy.
Like just kind of people assuming certain things
Are
about
you
you
about
right off
me
the
or the
bat.
dog?
It depends on who it is.
Yeah.
It was just like
That
Try to be
wasn't
patient.
What's that?
I also figured that.
But thank you. But I mean, obviously, it can go into really dangerous territory pretty fast. Like sometimes people like will assume I care about sports, and frankly, that's benign. Because I'm like, look, I can talk to you about anything because I love to talk to people.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I
We all
know
are
about
people,
sports.
people.
I live on Earth. Like
You're a librarian.
I'm
You
like,
can figure
yeah,
shit
I can talk
out.
about anything.
Yeah. Also, we're like in the
Everyone
service industry.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I
Yeah.
can literally talk about something I've never seen.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
done before, right?
Yeah.
But
We did quarter.
then that's benign, right? But then it can go sort of in a different direction where like misogyny comes up, or
Absolutely.
you know, anything that's sort of like different. There's different sort of manifestations of misogyny that usually follow that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, I was willing to talk about sports or whatever it is, like
Right.
like
Misogyny and like femme shaming.
totally.
way.
You know what else really like bothers me in that kind of aspect where like again navigating certain queer spaces that like you don't necessarily feel comfortable in slash you do feel comfortable in, or a lot of the time I felt like especially for like turning 21 and going out like bars and doing all that kind of thing people are so like the misogyny is like so deep rooted, and I felt like whenever I would go out like people just want to be like, oh, bitches, man. And I was like, what? How do you do that? It's one of those things where it's like, just because, like, I look masculine and you're, like, this also masculine person, and you're going to talk to me about, like, the chick in front of us, who you said chick, why are you saying that on top of that? And you're going to talk about certain things and act a certain way, and it's just, like, so intense. And I'm like, why are you talking about... Can we not, like, do that? I don't know, and I feel like, again, circling back to, like, trying to navigate, like, lesbian spaces and, like, how I feel about them and how to act in them and how to interact with other people in that, like, space where it was just kind of, like, there was just a lot of, like, disrespect towards women, which I thought was, like, very interesting, because you're so...
Maybe.
I don't know.
There's a lot there that I
There's
don't.
a lot there.
Well, it just went through
And
my
I only
brain.
have a perspective on some of it.
Right. I was just thinking about like how it's like it's like kind of a queer rite of passage to like look at another queer person and be like, do I want to be you?
Yeah.
Do I want to have sex with you?
Yeah.
Is it both? And then you're like
Sometimes
kind of
it's-
bouncing between
Yeah.
Rite of passage or like general state of existence.
every day.
We should unpack that actually. I would
And-
really like to unpack that.
And at this point, like I'm married to a femme, and like I feel like sometimes she's getting ready in the morning, and I'm like, you're a fucking goddess, and I love you.
Yeah.
But also like, can I be a goddess in my next life? Am I a goddess now and I just don't understand? What's going on? You know, like there's a certain like allure that it's like there's attraction, but it's also like I identify with that energy.
Yeah. I completely agree with
So
that.
it's a weird one. To try
Yeah.
and
Also,
figure
are we
out,
both
like,
married?
Yeah, you're married.
That's cute. Hey, married.
Who are you married to?
I'm married to like amazing, gorgeous little nugget named Stacey Oviedo.
Beautiful.
You better chill out, boy.
She's
Let's
fabulous.
cut these hands.
She's just like this cute. Also, like Latin, tattooed person who used to do hair.
Also a
actually.
goddess?
Also a goddess. Also a goddess. Who used to do hair and now is like a marketing student and she's gonna make a bunch of money someday, maybe, hopefully, and then I'll just be a trophy husband. That's my big term long goal. No, man.
Long boy.
But I actually want to talk a little bit about, because we're touching on like attraction and stuff, I want to talk about like internalized like transphobia too.
Alright, the non-binary term for god or goddess is
Tomorrow,
goddess.
maybe. I'm gonna be tired.
G-O-D-D-E-X, goddess.
Goddess.
That's the term I came up with. Enjoy.
Wait, Godex is so cute. I think I want that in my name.
Awesome meeting you. I wasn't sure.
Wait, Godex is really cute. I like that a lot.
I came up with it. I'm just like, it needs to be non-binary. I chose double a D because
Bring the
why
women
not?
children downstairs.
Why have
Right?
one G when you got
I'm like,
two?
Lola.
I feel like we should touch on two things, and then
We'll talk her. We'll slip on
we'll
some
leave because
pizza.
we have wives.
Get back to your wives.
They're
Um,
sleeping.
We're gonna who are like maybe annoyed. I don't know.
Old balls and chains.
Oh God, that's a whole other thing. But we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah, what were you
You
talking
mentioned
about?
the, like,
Attraction.
not realizing that people identified us as lesbians. When that I've never ever thought about it like that.
No.
I
It
love
just
that.
never even occurred to me. You
I
know,
love
identified
confusing
as, like,
people. I love
GQ.
it. When my face hair growing, they go, "Oh my God, yeah, guess. I want you to guess." They go, feet, yes, I want you. So this way, when you go wrong, I'm gonna go set you right, and your feelings are gonna be hurt, but you're gonna be educated. I did my job. Feelings hurt, but you're educated. Well done, teacher.
Exactly.
Thank
That's my
you.
new motto. Not everyone feels educable.
I know.
But everyone is.
And that's
It's not
yes.
everyone feels.
Okay.
Okay, so what do we need to touch on?
Attraction.
Attraction?
In internalized transphobia, and then also your last question was about workplace and community.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about there too.
Those are our last two subjects, I think, maybe, possibly.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bang them out.
Let's think about it.
We have about 5 minutes.
My dog.
Okay, so like 2
Okay,
minutes on
Elmira,
internalized
it's
transphobia.
okay.
But it's fine, whatever.
We can do this again.
Yeah, we also can have like a part 2. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's fine.
part 2, my.
Yeah, I just like wanted to throw out there, to talk about attraction and transphobia, because you were talking about like how you feel about your wife, and like you're like, she's a goddess, like I really like admire her energy, and like you're married to a femme person, I'm also married to a femme person. But I also want to put out there that for a long time, I didn't even acknowledge my attraction to butch women, trans people in general, trans masculine people, basically anybody who might be similar to me.
Right.
I was like, that's not a thing. What am I doing? That's
Well, that's-
crazy.
It's also internalized homophobia.
Yeah, it's also that. It's all like you're
Anyone who looks
connected.
like you, it's too gay.
Denial.
It's too gay. Don't be gay.
Uh-huh.
Don't be gay. And it wasn't until
You should be gay.
you should be gay. Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, it's probably gay.
No, like that's been my motto for a lot of the time. We're like,
I mean, like everything can be gay.
yeah, I was
Even
like,
though you're like heteronormative
Just
towards
gay,
women, relationship,
yeah,
it's
it's
still
gay. Like, yeah. I mean, and I've always joked about that even when I've had like relationships with like any type of cis dude. I'm like, you know, you're super fucking gay, and like you can't get out of this situation. But yeah, so like it took me a long time to really come full circle and stop that like toxic way of thinking, and to realize that there's more there. And I don't know, like you know, despite me being like super attracted to femme people and like my femme wife, and like that being a default setting in a lot of ways stereotypically for me, it wasn't until like more recent times where I was like, oh no, there's more there, and you need to accept that and stop being toxic to yourself.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on that kind of subject also, because we're like in similar situations in that sense. I'm curious
I think
what
that
your
like,
journey has been in that kind of way.
I went on a couple dates once with this person who didn't look like me really at all because they don't look like me, but
Yeah.
similar gender presentation.
Yeah.
We got called fags on one of our dates, and I was like, I can get down with this. Like, I actually are kind of fags. Obviously, I was worried when we like
Yeah, you're
walked
like,
past
oh,
her.
that's yeah, and then you
It
thought
wasn't
about it.
immediate that I was like, this is cute. I was like, let's walk around the
First
corner as
minute
fast as we
fear,
can.
then let's go ahead and
But later, there's like, there's something to reclaim in that.
You're like,
We're
that's
holding
scary,
hands, it's like,
but
oh yeah, this looks gay.
yeah,
That's good.
I'm into
That's all
that.
it really took.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like,
exactly.
what I don't like appreciate is like, there's more like, I feel like there's more stigma around being married than anything else. But
Yes,
I'm married
I
to a
agree.
femme, so it's assumed that like
That you're
The guy, the relationship.
that your daddy.
that, but like
That's
also
I'll
But
tell you
then,
this
like,
much.
I could only ever like
Yeah.
appreciate femmes, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, I live on, like, again, I can't say I live on Earth enough times. Like, I can appreciate anyone.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
happen to be monogamous, but I'm still like a living, breathing queer person.
Yeah,
so
and
I
so
see
you
beauty
you are like,
all the
okay, that
time.
person is good looking.
I'm not
yeah.
like so heteronormative. I've like unpacked that enough that I'm not just like only appreciating people that remind me of my partner. Or
Yeah, absolutely.
other
I think
friends.
that's something that
Yeah.
I'm navigating as well, and
So-
I agree with
And
that.
it feels like limiting because people meet me and they're like, well, you don't get it. You're married to a man. And I'm like,
Oh,
Still
erase
perfect.
me, perfect,
I'm
amazing.
still participating
Well-
in this world. It really erases more. It erases others.
Yeah,
right?
that
It's
too.
like, I can see multiple genders existing at the same time and think they're all like desirable and
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't know.
And transitioning to the work thing, like part of what you're doing, what you do professionally is like help people feel good about their presentation.
Right.
In which like you see a lot of different presentations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think that what's interesting is like everyone has. There's just so much more than we can.
Quantify.
Yeah. I mean, even if I spend a couple hours talking to someone, I still don't really. Obviously, I'm not an expert on their gender.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot that we can't see and a lot that really can't be communicated about gender.
I mean, even when you're in a relationship, you're like
Exactly.
constantly learning about their gender.
Yeah,
right?
Oh,
learning
yeah,
about your hormones,
absolutely.
too. So I feel like it's a very specific space to sort of meditate on your gender, but it's, you know, any space you have, just to do that adds to the well-roundedness of, you know, I mean, more opportunities to think about it, the better.
Yeah.
So having this sort of like maybe sort of stuffy version of it is important too. You know?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, when I was coming out to my parents, I'd come out to my sisters beforehand and like
Yeah.
make sure that I had their support.
It can be the nice thing about siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll do a part 2. I feel like we should just have
Yeah. And one of the nice things that I had said to my sister, but that she repeated to my parents, because it resonated with her, is that like a lot of what I'm trying to do in my transition is just to like be a more complete human being.
Right.
Ooh, I love that.
Because there's
Love that.
so much that was like denied to me as a dude, and just getting to a point of being like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do all the things that interest me.
Yeah.
David, you're gonna make me cry. You're gonna be happy.
I mean,
I love it.
touching on like workplace things, I feel like my time, I was lucky enough to like get on the floor as a stylist in only, basically almost only queer space. I learned so much from my clients, I think. I think that taught me how to appreciate myself more.
I learn a lot from
Ha-
them.
It's insane. Like I feel like I had like a crash course almost. Like I feel like constantly we have to re-educate ourselves, constantly keep learning, constantly re-examine the things we say, re-examine things we do. But just like being around, like especially being like in a predominantly like barbershop setting at the time, because now I'm in a salon, so things might change. Who knows? But and having to like really aid a lot of like masculine presenting people's like aesthetics, and having to really like have a lot of like, this is me coming out, this
Cis
is my
dudes
first
have
haircut.
not set a good precedent on
No.
masculinity.
No.
What?
I have to leave and you're saying that?
Whatsoever.
But circling back real quick to finish it, I just feel like I've learned a lot from my clients, and they taught me how to love myself more, how to keep like I broke my necklace, I think. It's fine. I'm just really passionate. Basically, I learned a lot from my clients and taught me to love myself. It also taught me to see more shit, and even if you think you're woke, you're never actually that woke. You have to keep learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never arrive.
You never arrive. You're never gonna arrive.
Yeah, that's why woke should not be like an identity.
Also that, I'm thankful to have the job that I have. It's cool. The end.
I really
Yay! We solved it.
Because me and
Owned
this
by
one,
Facebook.
my gosh, she had a
actually
dream.
are looking for places for suits and stuff like that because when I wear a binder, I want to be able to actually fucking look
I will
decent.
not buy a suit unless
Hell
it's made
yeah.
handmade for me.
Because
Well, you know,
these
you're in good
guys,
company.
you know,
I
they
have to
need
release
space.
you.
Because my first suit has to be a
Perfect
dedication to my
creature.
grandfather.
Hold on, please.
Oh,
Cory.
Thank you.
By the way.
Can I hug you? Is that cool?
Also walk out. I have to go to the butt.
And like settle myself.
Thanks.
No, this was wonderful. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I follow you already because I'm a dork.
I probably won't.
Well, also I've just been following Vanilla for.
I wish you were wearing your gay agenda
I thought I was
shirt.
gonna get a
Kobe
suit
Solis
for my
said,
wedding.
what if dated we gay
What if
alive?
I gay alive?
Yes, también
I got
cojo.
it on stage.
And
But it's
he